Oh yeah, it's time.
Sorry, just felt like that was the appropriate voice for that intro music. Like a
Especially for
little.
people watching the Braves right now.
That is true. They are sucking so bad right now. Let's go ahead, all right? So let's go ahead and talk giveaways. Because, we love to give free stuff away. So last time, and I will go ahead and let Tickle Tiger know that his hat was mailed out today. So you should be receiving it. I think they said Friday at the latest. And Will, yours is next up. I have yours right there. So yours will go out tomorrow. And this is what we are going to give away. I say we give away 5 of these shirts. Let me see here. Like,
There you go.
yeah. And so we are going to give away five US offside shirts. The Notre Dame game is the next home game for the Tigers. So I figure, let's go ahead and start giving them away so that, people can have them to show their support that week or at the game. And so here's the difference. In all of my tech savviness, I found out that if you simply leave a comment, you are entered in the drawing. Hashtag needed, special stuff needed. So just leave us a comment in the chat and you are entered in the drawing. And like I said, we'll give 5 away. We have every size from Jason Small that he likes to show off his titties and all the way up to 2X. So, yeah. And also, before we dive into the Rays sucking, I also want to say this. All right. If you are on YouTube, you can activate super chats, which is where you donate money. And for the entire month of October, on every one of our shows, every single dollar that is sent as a super chat is going straight to Dallas All-In Foundation. Excuse me. We all know someone who has been affected by cancer and breast cancer. I am sure, everyone out there knows, my story, and so I am not going to rehash it, but, every single dollar that comes in for the month of October as a super chat, and I think, you just put in there however much you want to give. 100% of that is going straight to Dow's Holland Foundation. So that is all I have initially. So let's see here. Let's go ahead here and start with this. I love this. I saw this in the chat, 5 minutes before we were ready to come, and I about lost it. Crystal News for I mean, Jason, that game Saturday night, I was watching it, and actually, Georgia Tech scored that go ahead, I think, touchdown, and then ended up going down to Miami on the next drive, and I was sitting there. I actually fell asleep. I had absolutely no clue what had happened until X or Twitter or whatever you call it now. Absolutely blew the hell up, and it was like I was like, hang on, I have to watch this. And honestly, it was one of those things where I was just dumbfounded with the absolute stupidity of Mario Cristobal. I mean, how in the hell do you let your team lose like that?
Hey, that's not the first time he's done that either. He did it back in, I think it was 2018, maybe when he was over at Oregon and he did it against Cal and they ended up tying it and Stanford beat them in overtime. So it's not the first time he's refused to kneel on it and fumbled and give one away. That is back-to-back weeks where I've seen just, I think, the two dumbest coaching decisions I've ever seen watching football. One was in the high school ranks, one was Mario Cristobal last week, man, and it was, I'm telling you, it was just head scratching. It's almost like you're kind of asking for it. You're kind of padding your stats, trying to get your rushing numbers. I guess maybe to a certain thing, you didn't need to do anything but kneel on it. I mean, I know that fumble gets a lot of the attention because how dumb of a decision it was. But not only that, then your defense gives up 70 yards in 2 plays. I mean, even after the fumble, it's hard to put into words. It's unexplainable, man. I do not know what he was thinking. I run into a highlight on Twitter where you could see one of, like, maybe, I don't know if it was an analyst or one of the assistant coaches was telling him he needed to kneel on it, man. And he didn't even acknowledge the guy. It is just wild. And it might end up costing them big time down the road because that's the game they should have won. That should be one that's in the win column right now.
Yeah, I am actually looking right now because there was a. Let me see. I honestly can't remember who had it, but there was a view of a Miami. I guess he was a defensive guy sitting on the bench, and he was saying, "What the f are you doing?"
I mean, how do you go in the locker room and explain that? I don't know how you go in the locker room and explain that to your players, man. You got to look them in the eye and say, "Hey, I got to own this." I don't know how you explain it. I don't know how to. They got a big game coming up this week. They got to get over it in a hurry somehow.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I heard you talk about the high school coaching liner that you saw, and honestly, it was like Crystal. I was like, "Here, hold on here." I mean,
I don't know, man. He did that one I saw. Cristobal didn't at least didn't intentionally giving it to him on the 35-yard line down, up only 5. I mean, he at least thought his defense could hold him for 70 yards. They were two equally as bad.
I swear, yeah, it's like, and, Dad was asked, if he saw it, and he said, yeah, he said, he saw it, and he has, a chart, I used to have a chart when I was offensive coordinator that I kept on me that has, basically starting at 2 minutes, how much time you can take off the clock. If the other team has 1, 2, or 3 timeouts, and also how much time you can take off the clock if you have 2, 3 timeouts, and so that honestly, those kind of coaching mistakes are the kind that lose you jobs. That was, I mean, inexcusable doesn't even begin to describe that. In fact, it's honestly, the to do that to your team, and then in his press conference after the game, he was asked why he didn't take any knee, and he gave some BS response that honestly didn't make a hell of a lot of sense sitting here and listening to it, where he tried to explain his decision behind not taking any. I think he thought that Georgia Tech had a timeout, and so they had to get the first down.
He's trying to justify that. I'm telling you, it's very similar to what he did back in, it was 2018, or when he was at Oregon. Oregon was leading 31-28, had the ball near midfield, could have had the quarterback take a knee to run down the clock to know it would have been 16 or fewer seconds. And they'd have had to punt, and the other team, Stanford, still had a timeout, but still, he had the quarterback run on 2nd and 2. The quarterback fumbled. Stanford took possession with 51 seconds and went down and tied it, and then beat them in overtime. So, I mean, I tend to agree with the commenter there at the top, man. Cristobal kneels for no one.
Yeah. Honestly, it's one of those things where you just can't even, fathom a coach doing that. Let's get a quick update on the Rays. They are down 7-1, top of the 6th. A runner on first and 1 out. Yeah.
And Bryce Harper has made this one personal.
Yeah. Yes, he has.
I don't know why Snit pitched to him there earlier in the game, but
yeah. He is the douchiest of douchebags in baseball. He is. I
don't like him either.
Yeah, he is everything that is wrong with, baseball wrapped up into a single human being.
No, man, if you want to sit there and, take in your home run for a few seconds, I'm not a big fan of that, but I ain't going to cry too much about it, man. When you start staring, when you go out your way to start staring guys down in the outfield and the throat slashing and all that, that's killing a.
That's
getting one in the ear hole next time you come up. That's the way I look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's also, a little Tennessee-esque guy. We saw, Tennessee and Clemson kind of, get into it a little bit after, Clemson turned a double play in that regional. And, the Tennessee guy, said something to Canarella, and Canarella got suspended and kicked
Canarella's the one
out
that
of
got
the game.
ejected because he was the
Yeah,
one that reacted. Yeah.
yeah. I the, the this is funny. The right.
Yeah.
I,
Very similar, man. The Braves have forgotten how to hit. The only way to Clemson forgot how to play offense this past Saturday. That is,
yeah,
man, that was an ugly display.
yeah. Yes, it was. See, Michael says his son woke up and told him Georgia Tech. Oh, yeah, that's the same thing that yeah uh, happened to me. I woke up Sunday morning and the wife said, did you see what happened? I said, no. I said, I went to sleep and I ain't had the all and they were just going to take a knee. And she said, oh no.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I had quit watching that too because I thought it was over. I didn't see what happened until after it unfolded. But that is one that is going to go down in history. He's never going to live that down. I don't care what he does. He'll never live that down.
Yeah. I swear you're going to talk some Clemson, but this is one of those things where he has a stretch coming up that can seriously make or break his season. And honestly, I think that even though he was a damn right coach's guy, there is a lot of uh, uh, wheeling and dealing kind of behind the scenes that got him there. I think, his leash is fairly short because those, yeah, the fans at Miami are notoriously, uh, well, let's just call it what they are. They are, you know, just bad. They don't show up for games. The students don't come because it's like 30-minute drive from campus, and so if he loses that support, Dan Rakovic is gonna have no choice but to seriously consider looking elsewhere.
Yeah, they got a big stretch coming up here over the next 2 weeks. They got to go to North Carolina, and that's not an easy feat right now. And then they got to go to Clemson, and I don't care how bad Clemson's offense plays there. That's not going, that's going to be a game that's tough to win.
Yeah.
And you could the last thing you could do if you've got expectations of playing in the conference championship, winning a conference championship, you can't be giving games away to Georgia Tech. I mean, it's one thing to win ugly; it's another thing to just give one away.
Yeah, especially to a team that was 2-3. Let's get to this here. Tickle Tire asked us for some off the cuff grades for all position groups. I think this is something good to kind of, get us back to Clemson. So let's do this. All right. So, starting with the offense, let's start with the quarterback. Honestly, I say C plus, maybe. I mean, I have not seen the consistent uh, progression that I thought I would see out of K Club this season. You know, it's one thing to start out slow. It's another thing to take, two steps forward and one step back and then three steps forward and two steps back. I think, he has been serviceable. He has, you know, done what is asked of him. But honestly, he hasn't been this elite QE that we were expecting to see this year. I mean, for me, is it's just a developmental thing with him. It's like, he has a great game and then he'll have a game that is just head scratching. So I say C plus. You're great.
I thought Klubnik started to play well about the second half of Charleston Southern and continued that through the Syracuse game. Last week, step back, wrong direction. I thought we were seeing growth from one week to the next up until last week. Still, he's still prone to throwing the ball into coverage. And watching that game unfold last week and listening to him, how he answered a question that was asked of him during the press conferences Monday, I'm convinced they're only giving him one read. And if it's not there, hit the check down man. I don't know that they're giving him more than that right now. I'm not sure or at least they weren't Saturday. That's the way it looked to me, anyways. And listening to him describe one of those plays, he missed a wide open Troy Stellato. It kind of sounded like that to me too. We'll never know the answer to that for sure, but it looks that way. So he's not where I thought he was going to be come the halfway point of this season. He's not where I thought he was going to be to start the season. He's been, up and down. And again, I thought we saw growth through all those games up until the last game. Even he said it was probably one of maybe his worst game as a quarterback. But I would say probably C plus too. I think that's fair. There's been too many turnovers on simple things. Like handing the ball off. I don't care if it's Shipley's fault or Klubnik's fault. That's something you got to get straightened out. We've seen too many fumbles on exchanges this year. We've seen more than enough for one season, and we're only at the halfway point. That's something that's got to get cleaned up. So, there is the inconsistency for me. C plus. Yeah, I like it.
Honestly, the exchange issues, I mean, that is scary when it's still occurring 6 games into the season. That is stuff that should, have, been ironed out in fall camp or over the summer. To me, the exchange trials, like you said, whether it's Shipley or him, that can't continue. All right, so since we mentioned Shipley, let's go to the running backs. And honestly, I think, if you're going to do this fairly, you have to split up Shipley and Rafa. Because I think, Shipley is a C right now. And Rafa, I say, is a solid V. Because, Shipley, honestly, has not, had the explosive plays that we expected. He has, had his steps, issues with the mesh. And honestly, Rafa has been the better running back through the first 6 games.
I would agree with that. I think Moffa's been the better runner of the two. Shipley, whatever reason, he's not seeing the field. When there are holes there, he's running into the wrong hole or running into the back of one of his guys. I don't know. Something just seems off. And I remember somebody telling me before the season started, one of the differences in the offense was going to be the spacing along the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you wonder if that plays a part into it. I don't know. It's just throwing that out there. But his field vision does not look the same as it was last year before last. The only difference from Mafia is when he makes a mistake, it seems magnified. You know, it's in the big moments like the miss blitz against Florida State, the fumble on the one at Duke. You know, it just seems magnified. Not saying he's making more mistakes. It just seems in bigger moments. So they seem magnified, and they tend to linger in your memory longer than say a normal regular fumble by Shipley or normal regular missed block by Shipley. But I think Moffa's by far been the better runner. He's averaging almost 2 yards per carry more than Shipley.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but both of them, I don't think have been very good after contact. I think they've gone down too easy. It's like the backs have taken a little step back. They you know, they both get C's in my book.
Yeah. All right. So the guys up front blocking for them on the O line. I'll let you go first on this one.
You know, I thought the offensive line had been playing better than people were giving it credit for up until the Syracuse game. I thought they played like ass in the first half against Syracuse, and I thought they played like ass again last week. Make no mistake, they're missing Walker Parks. Mitchell Mays just ain't it, and we saw that Saturday. He played 8-9 snaps, was out, and we didn't see him anymore. You know, and that's been a huge part of the problem. But there was something Garrett Riley said the other day that stuck with me. He's talking about how, you know, too often they're playing with 10 on offense. Seems like because somebody's busting or missing an assignment, and far too often it's an offensive lineman. And you heard Will Putnam say it the other day, when one guy messes up, it makes all five look bad. You know, so you know, again, I thought they had played better than given credit for through the Syracuse game. But I thought Syracuse found something that they struggled with, and we saw Wake Forest do it too. That those twists and stunts, or whatever you want to call them, Syracuse used that to perfection against that offensive line. We saw Wake Forest do some of it last week, and they've struggled to pick that stuff up. They get a C minus in my regard, in my book. You know, it's been very inconsistent, very up and down, borderline on a D plus. You know, just how bad it's been the past two games. They should have been able to run on that Wake Forest team last week.
Mm-hmm.
They were dropping guys into coverage and basically daring Clemson to run it on them, pretty much giving it to them, and they still couldn't run. That's concerning.
Yeah, you're a little more generous than I am. I am going solid D. You know, we heard all season how this group is so talented and going to be the, you know, finally the offensive line that, you know, could go 10, 11 D, Dallas said. I mean, Thomas Austin said he was comfortable 7, 8 D. And when you're 6 games into your season and you still can't figure out who the hell is your best 5, you know, you have issues. I mean, Harris still can. And, you know, after HOA stunk up, and Dow said yesterday, Monday, that he felt like, you know, they may have gotten away from Mitchell a little bit too much and should have played him more. I think, you know, 80 plays was enough to see that he wasn't getting it done. And, you know, you have Harris Sewell, you know, who's a true freshman out there trying to learn on the job. And for as much hype as this, you know, group got throughout the off season, I think they have been a huge disappointment. So,
And you got to decide on a left tackle, man. You can't keep rotating them in and out. If somebody's not separating themselves, pick one and roll with him. You know, maybe we started to see them transition to Sadler, because I thought he was in a lot more in the second half Saturday than Tristan Lee was. I didn't notice Lee back into the game until they got in the red zone. I thought Sadler was in a lot more in the second half. So maybe they're starting to settle on that thing. But if you're gonna roll with Sadler and Sewell in the starting lineup, that's a redshirt freshman and a true freshman out there in your starting five. So you're going to have some speed bumps, man. There's going to be some growing pains. It might be ugly at times, but that might be good for their growth for next season. You're not going to the playoff this year. You're very likely not going to the ACC title game, man. You might as well start playing. I mean, I know there's a fine line. You still got goals for this season. You don't want to give up on the season, but you got to start, keeping one eye on next season too, and get some of these guys ready, because expectations are going to be high next year, and some of these guys need to be ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tyler Paul Craven hits the nail on the head. You have to, figure out who your best five are and go with them. I mean, it is still shocking to me that we are halfway through the season and some of these issues are the same ones that we were talking about in week one. I mean, the idea that, I see Tickle down here saying we play our backups and most teams. That is fine when you're up, 35, to 7 on 18. But when you are in a dogfight, you have to have a solid group of 5 guys that you can count on. And I have yet to see that.
And what's odd about that is the last 2 years, they heavily relied on that starting five. They very rarely substituted. They played most of the snaps every game. And it's not worked out that way this year, which it's mostly been over there at left tackle where they've done a lot of the rotating, because we weren't going to see that kind of rotation at right guard had Walker Parks not gotten hurt. But to me, it is odd to see them rotating those guys at left tackle as much as they have and not decided on one yet. I don't care if somebody separates themselves or not. Again, you got to pick one and roll with him.
Yeah,
you got to let that group gel and try to become as cohesive as possible. And if you're rotating a guy in and out, every 2-3 possessions, you're never going to get there.
Yeah. And another key piece to the offensive line is the tight ends, who I am giving a huge fat F to. F. They have sucked all season. All damn season. We have waited for this, Jake Ring still the Kyle Richardson raised it out in the preseason. That Dow raised it out. And yet all we have gotten is, some herky-jerky dance moves, some drives, passes, and, just terrible play. And it's not just, Jake Ring still, Sage Ennis hasn't done much in his limited opportunities. Jake Ring still has, not lived up to the height that we heard.
Biggest disappointment on the offense this season for me is Jake Brenniston. Less than 7 yards per catch. I don't care if he's third on the team in receptions. He's averaging less than 7 yards per catch. That ain't going to get it done. They trust him so much, they barely let him run routes down the field anymore. Everything he runs is underneath or in the flat. The next tackle that guy breaks is going to be his first. He goes down as soon as he gets hit every time. He, he's he's soft, man. He's soft. I'm gonna say it. He's soft. I've been trying not to say it, but I'm gonna say it. He's soft, and I don't know if that's ever gonna change. Some players are. It's just the way it is. And he's another guy I thought we started to see less of in the second half against Wake Forest because his production is not matching his snap count so far this season. He is on the field way too much to be producing at such a small level. If he ain't gonna get it done, might as well let Sage Enos get in there and try to make something happen. I mean, he's not the guy that's gonna stretch the field for you routinely.
Or hell, you got Saf over here who
give Saf a shot. I mean, this is his second year. He's been in that offense. He's been in that offense a year and a half now. Can't remember if he enrolled early last year or not, but whether he did or not, he's been around a while now. He should know the ins and outs of the offense. Matter of fact, with this new scheme, he's got as many snaps in it. He's got as much time in it as anybody else does. Give some of them give one of those other two guys a shot. Hell, give Banks Pope a shot. He cannot do any worse. I don't care if he is a walk-on. He can't do worse than what we've been seeing so far through the first 6 games.
Yeah, honestly, the Titans have been such a disappointment. And honestly, I think it's one of those things where Dow and Kyle Richardson had, sang their praises all preseason and tell us what weapons they were going to be and how Jake Green still had transformed himself. Maybe you sit here and go, all right, they are what they are, but it's not as bad as it seems. But when your coaches come out and sing your praises, you down there back it up.
He looks the same to me as last year. I don't know where he's transformed his body. He looks about the same size, same weight, same. I don't know. I don't get it. He is the biggest disappointment on the offense for me, and it ain't even close.
I agree. I want to remind everyone that all you have to do to be entered into win. Let's see. Can you see that?
I can see it. Rudy was offsides.
All right. Is simply leave a comment. No hashtags are needed. Let's see here. So we will draw for 5 shirts at the end of the show. All you have to do is leave a comment. So let's jump back into. I actually want to also remind you that through the month of October, any super chats that are sent, we are going to donate 100% of the money raised through supers, and it is going to Dow's All-In Foundation. So that is just, a quick little update on that. So the last group on offense is the wide receivers. Honestly, this is a hard one because, there have, you almost don't want to lump everyone together because, you have some guys like Al Randall who would be an F, and then you got guys like Trustalo, Tyler Brown, and that would probably be A minuses, and then you got guys like Collins, who a kick around a as a whole, I would say the wide receivers I give a C plus to, because there have not there has not been the explosiveness that I would have liked to see out of that group. But I mean, this is maybe the hardest one because, like I said, so many guys could grade so differently. Your thought?
Yeah, I think the wide receivers take more slack than they've earned. There's guys getting open. Riley's scheming guys open. There's guys creating separation. Klubnik's just not seeing them. Either he don't see them or he don't look at them. There was a play against Wake Forest where Bo Collins was running wide open down the sideline, man, and that was going to be a long touchdown. Klubnik never even looks at that side of the field. Mm-hmm. There was another one where Stellato was wide open. It was going to be a big play. He never looks at him. Again, I'm not convinced they're giving him more than one read, or at least they weren't last week, I don't think. But, I think overall the receivers are getting, crapped on a little more than they probably deserve. I think Bo Collins has played better the last couple of weeks. The one area with some, not all of them, just some of them, that leaves a little bit to be desired is the blocking on the perimeter. I could give them C plus, B minus, and I'd be fine with either one.
Yeah, I will say this. Troy Stellato is playing like a guy, who wants, the ball every single time. He is out there busting his ass because he hasn't had the opportunity to play. I think, when someone like him finally gets healthy and is able to play, I think, he has a different appreciation for how to play the game. I think, that he understands how quick the game can be taken from him. And so I love seeing him on the field. I think, he is quickly, becoming a star, and he is showing everyone why he is so highly recruited.
He's been a saving grace for this offense because with Cole Turner hurt and Adam Randall just disappearing and being a non-factor, if Stellato's not there, they're in trouble, man. Because he's been playing a ton of snaps the last 3 weeks. Radham's barely played any snaps the past 2 weeks. He's been a saving grace for that group. His numbers. I know he doesn't have like big time yards per catch numbers. He's open down the field far more often than he's getting thrown the ball, to down the field. Again, if you go back and watch that Wake Forest game, every pass play, it seems like Cade was throwing the ball within, 2-3 seconds, not even giving time for things to develop down the field. Even when he had time, it was like he just had one read and it was intermediate or short, and he was never looking at anybody else. It was odd. It was an odd game plan, or it looked to me like one. But there are guys getting open, guys getting separation. There's windows to throw the ball in if the quarterback would ever look to their way and see them. They're there.
Yeah, I think, that some of the issues with Cade not looking across the field, this offense is a is a trying to think of the right term. He has, a first read, a second read, third read, fourth read, all that stuff. And honestly, not sure that they are giving Cage a summary or if he is scared to death that his offensive line isn't going to give him the time to go through a progression. Because,
there was something he said Monday that made me think. He was asked about a play he missed the lotto on, and he was talking about who he threw it to, and he was like, "That was the read. That was the read." It just made me think he's only getting one. I don't know, man. It was what they did. I mean, I understood trying to hit on the short stuff and the intermediate stuff to bring some of those DBs up, but man, I don't think they took one shot the entire game. It was odd.
Yeah, and can I also say that again, we are hearing the same crowd that we heard every year. I'm sorry, every game last year, every game the year before, that they are taking what the defense is giving them. Instead of dictating to the defense what they are going to do, they are letting the defense dictate to them how they are going to play. Now, honestly, I thought that, that was going to change under Garrett Riley. I mean, he talked about, how they wanted to impose their will on defenses, that they wanted to take the fight to the defenses. And, we have yet to see a single game where it looks like the Tiger offense was, the ones being the aggressor and, giving the defense the kind of choices to make.
I thought the offense was aggressive against Syracuse. I thought it was fairly aggressive against Florida State. And again, I go back to that last game. Clemson should have been able to run the ball on that defense. They were dropping 7-8 guys back. And I don't know that you want Cade continuously throwing into that kind of coverage down the field. To me, the goal is you start running the ball on them, hitting some of those shorter to intermediate throws, and kind of drawing those DBs in. They want you to drive the field. 7, 8, 9 play drives are going to make you pick it up in little chunks, but you got to play. You can't make mistakes when you do that, and you got to be accurate with the football and make the right decisions and not fumble and those kind of things. You got to be able to string drives together, string first downs together, and this offense wasn't able to do it. But again, to me, it goes back. They should have been able to run the ball against Wake Forest Saturday with the defense they were playing. Taking everything away from them, keeping everything in front of them, and they just couldn't do it. I think if you're able to run the football and start having some success in the first half, you start bringing that coverage in, some things down the field open up, then you can kind of start dictating a little more. So, I don't want to say they hadn't been aggressive at all because I think they were some in Florida State. I think they were in Syracuse. But I thought listening to Garrett Riley talk Monday was very telling. He was like, he got asked about why the offense doesn't look like what he was running last year, and I thought he was pretty candid. We got who we got. To me, it was he was pretty much saying, I don't have the pieces that I had last year to work with. He talked about youth and guys making mistakes, and even though when he got asked about inexperience, he wasn't having any part of that, man. He's telling me we're 6 games in. Nah, it ain't inexperience.
Yeah.
He wasn't having any part of that. But it kind of sounded like it was a talent thing, man, and I thought it was very telling.
Yeah, 40 yards rushing in the first half against Wake Forest.
When they were
Yeah.
dropping 7-8 guys back into coverage, man,
Yeah.
it's sad.
Yeah. That is almost inexcusable. So,
They should have been able to run the ball on Wake Forest. So I don't think Wake's some terrible scrub defense. I think they're okay, but they should not have been able to slow that Clemson running game down the way they did in the first half. Clemson should have been able to have more success on the ground. And maybe if Cade doesn't have one of his worst days from an accuracy standpoint, maybe that helps it a little bit because he was off, man. The whole offense was off. And something else we haven't talked about, we should have learned at this point by now, Clemson's going to play like ass going into a bye week. You go back and look at it, man. I went back and looked at it through the Dabo era, and it's more than a trend. It happens way more often than not. And if you start, it happened a couple of times in the early years, like 2008, 2009. But if you just go back to 2014, it's happened every year but twice. And they lost one of those games when they lost to Syracuse in 2017. That was going into a bye week. There's been some close calls. The North Carolina game in 2019, the Syracuse game last year. They do not play well going into a bye week. The offense, in particular, does not play well. And it goes all the way back to 2014, the game Wayne Gallman got knocked out and they needed a missed field goal from North Carolina State to make it into overtime and win that game. It's an odd trend, and you can't call it a fluke anymore because we're talking about 10 years, and it's happened like 8 out of 10 years. It's just weird. I don't know if they're doing something different, from a approach standpoint for those games, where it's hard to imagine that they are. But man, it's almost like those guys are ready to get off the field and get to their off week because they played terrible going into the bye week, and it's been going on a long time now. Should have known better than to take Clemson to cover. They don't ever cover going into a bye week.
Yeah, I was gonna say if anyone wanted to lose a lot of money this week, all you had to do was watch our pregame show and take all of our picks.
I know, right? Didn't none of us even think about it being going into a bye week. I know I didn't until I was sitting in the press box Saturday. Is when it hit me. Sometime in that first half, it just dawned on me. Hit me like a ton of bricks. Hey, you know what? The bye week's next week, man. How many times have we talked about Clemson playing terrible going into a bye week? So I went home that night and I looked it up, and it was worse than I thought.
Yeah. All right. So we have about 7 minutes. If you want to get in on the drawing for the Rudy was offside shirt, we have them in small, medium, large, extra large, even 2X. And, we are going to draw in about 6 minutes. All you have to do is comment and you're entered. So let's quickly get to the defense because I think our grades are going to step up a little bit. Let's go to D line. Honestly, I have to give them an A. Just what you have seen out of Rook and TJ Parker and Peter Woods and Tyler Davis and that front four. There really is nothing that you need to say except they held FSU to 22 yards rushing and have honestly saved this team's ass more than they should have to.
That defensive front's been about what we thought it was going to be, and with each week, it looks like it gets more disruptive, a little more aggressive, and they're playing better and better. You'd like to see a few more sacks, but even that's picked up in the past couple of weeks. Run across the stat earlier, and this isn't necessarily about the defensive line and more about the whole defense. But Clemson is allowing just 2.83 plays per game of 20 yards or more. Last year it was 4.28 per game. So that's almost cut in half. And it's the lowest clip through the first 6 games, of the college football playoff era, going even back through Venable's defenses. So that defense is playing really well, and it starts up front with those guys up front, and with particularly on the interior, man. Root, Tyler Davis, Peter Woods, they just been disruptive, flat out disruptive most times.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Not sure I actually gave them a grade, but they get an A+ for me.
Yeah, they get an A from me too, man. I ain't gonna go A+ because I think they could be better at times setting the edge, those ends, but they get a solid A from me.
All right, linebackers. I say, let's see. I think, because we have seen some issues with tackling and angles and just technique issues at times, I think, I have to give the linebackers uh, let's go just a regular V.
Yeah, I'll go B+. The tackle's been, less than stellar. It's been shoddy at times. I think, they were bad in that game against Duke. I think they've been much better since then. My biggest thing with the linebackers has been coverage, covering that wheel right on them backs out of the backfield. They got to get that cleaned up. That's my biggest critique of the linebackers so far. Although, especially early in the past 2 games, the tackling's been a little shoddy. Although I thought they got it cleaned up as the game moved along. But you like to see that be better from the onset, from the opening whistle.
Yeah. All right, safeties. You can have this first.
I think the safeties have been outstanding, man. The pass defense, such a vast improvement over last year. They get an A from me. They might would get an A+ if a couple of those guys hadn't dropped interceptions that hit them dead in the hands. But those safeties have been outstanding, and it helps when you got a couple of veteran guys like R.J. Mickens and Jalen Phillips. We thought they were going to be one of the strengths on the back end of that, or on the defense overall, and they have been. Pass defense has been stellar.
Yeah, honestly, I'm right there with you. And, same thing with the corners. I think they get an A, especially, Toriano Price stepping up like he did last week, with Sheridan Jones going out, and, he didn't even know he was going to start until Tyrod. So, the secondary is an A. I think overall the defense is a solid A because, they have saved the offense's ass more times than they should. A lot of, you forget that if they give a touchdown when the offense gives Wake Forest the ball on the 9-yard line instead of holding them and not giving up any points, that Clemson loses that game.
Yeah, the pass defense has been giving up 175.5 yards per game. It's hard to ask for much better than that. I thought Toriano Pride was outstanding Saturday. And he's a guy that's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle this year, with the rise of Jaden Lucas. Hasn't played a whole lot. And man, when his number was called, he was ready to go. And I think Lucas has been very solid. Sheridan Jones has been really good. But Nate Wiggins has been the rock of that group, man. He has just been stellar this season. They need to get him. Hopefully, It sounds like they're going to have him back from Miami. Hopefully, he does not have any setbacks because you put him on one side of the field, he's going to lock his guy down. He is playing like a potential first round pick next year's draft, and man, that defense is better for it.
Yeah. So we have reached the 1 hour mark, and I say we give everyone, let's see, 30 seconds to get in. I don't care what you comment. If you want to be entered into this week's drawing for our one of a kind Rudy's offsides shirt.
And while we get them one last chance, special teams grade.
Oh, F fine. Hell,
Hey, you know what?
Hell,
everybody gets F except Aiden Swanson.
Yeah.
I think Swanson has been really good with his punting.
Yes,
Dunn's been really good with his kicking off. Other than that, epic fail. Because I saw somebody ask about that earlier. So, even on, they've had too many miscues on just fielding the ball on punts. I mean, it's just Dabo needs to maybe look at somebody, bring in full-time special teams coordinator, man, or a special teams coach, because they don't have one. And it's kind of collaboration. Maybe that's something he needs to look at doing.
Yeah, honestly, this, special teams, like stuff that he has tried with each coach, taking an element, that crap is stuff you see in high school. Because I remember when I coached, I was the offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach, and I had kickoff duty. And so I was responsible for the kickoff team. And every coach had their own little thing that they were responsible for. When you get to Division One major college football and you're 6 games in and you still can't find someone on that campus of 20,000 people that can kick a ball consistently through the uprights. Honestly, Dad said after the game that he was comfortable with Jonathan Weiss from 53. Hell, give me someone that you're confident with from 35 before you worry about 53 damn yards.
Yeah, Weiss needs to make a few before I'd be comfortable with him from anywhere, because he either pushes them left or hooks them left, depending on what hash the ball's on, and it is something he's consistently done.
Yeah. All right, you ready to give away some shirts?
Yes, sir.
All right, so here's the way it's done. As long as you have commented anything, you are entered in the drawing. It is completely random, except for Jason, who, if you don't win, you can complain to him. Let's see here who our first winner is. Kevin. All right, so our first winner is Kevin. Tickle Tiger, I swear.
He's going to end up with as much swag as I got.
Exactly. That is crazy. All right. Let's see again. All right. You want to try to pronounce this?
Beto.
All right.
Taking a shot.
I like it. Let's see. 2R. Oregon. And our last drawing for the night. Navi. Alright. So here's what we need from y'all. Alright. If you can reach out to us, either Jason or myself, on Twitter, okay, and send us your size and your address. I'll get these in the mail hopefully tomorrow. If not tomorrow, definitely Friday. All right. And
You can reach out to
y'all,
me on Twitter or Facebook. It don't matter.
yeah. So just reach out to one of us with your address. Tickle, I don't need your address. I already have it because you're obviously have the system rigged. Uh, all right.
Hey, Kevin, email me JPR. Wait a minute. Email me jp.clemsonmaven. No, jp@clemsonmaven.io. jp@clemsonmaven.io.
There you go. Yeah, I just put Jason's email in the chat.
Much better
So,
than me trying to say it.
yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. So you can reach out on social media. You can email Jason and we will give you your shirts. Like I said.
Not having social media, that must be peaceful.
Yes, sir. That is a dream. Let's see here. And lastly, just want to remind everyone that the entire month of October, every dollar that is sent through a super chat will go straight to Davos All-In Foundation supporting breast cancer research. So, thank you to anyone that has done that. And, yeah, Jason, there was no bad luck from you.
Nope, not since the last time. I tried to stay at home for a few days. The bye week and all. I'm gonna try to lay low and avoid all that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think the Braves have stolen your luck, yeah. Because
Yeah, it's
they're
8-2
doing,
now.
actually it's 10-2.
Ooh, oof, brutal,
Yes,
man.
sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank you everyone for watching and joining in. Jason will be back on Monday with his show. And
Any baseball fans out there, tune in Monday. I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go catch the scrimmage Saturday right down the road. They having one. Clemson's having a scrimmage right down the road from me with Coastal. I might go try to check that out.
yeah. So definitely check out Monday Live with Jason, and we will be right back here next Wednesday night for a little. Sorry, I get lost in the chat, because everyone tries to, you know.
You know what? My wife said I did that yesterday. I did not. For some reason, I did not. For those that don't know, when I go to Clemson, I used to stay up there 2-3 days. I had a buddy of mine's place, and for some reason, I did not sleep well up there Saturday night, and I did not sleep well Sunday night. I mean, I did not sleep well at all. I got very little sleep. So, I'm not usually much of a day sleeper, but I did do a little bit yesterday. I will admit, my wife told me I slept too much yesterday.
Yeah, that's funny. You're talking about a day's sleeping, and if Rad was on here, he'd be talking about day drinking.
Drinking. It's a little different over here.
Yes, it is. Well, thank you all for joining us. For Jason, I am Zach. Be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. It helps us out a ton. Thank you all so much for your support. We'll see you next week.